Okay, folks, this is Book Talk with Corbin, and I'm your host. And man, we have, as usual, a great guest, but this guest is very, very unique. I was just saying to him before we started the recording, this brother has had an amazing journey, and he immediately said, you know, due to God, thank God for that journey. He gave all the praise to God for his journey. Um, I'm not. I don't know if I can sit here and give you all his academic credentials. Brother, is it true that you got your doctorate at age 24?
Not even. I actually, my birthday was on the 16th of July, and I defended my first doctoral dissertation on the 3rd of July of that year. How do you like them apples?
That's fantastic. And I looked at the school and I said, I can't pronounce this. So I'm going to have you. You got your dissertation in, what was it, biblical theology? Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
That is correct. On the first three chapters of Genesis.
Wow.
And actually, I had to do with the Hebrew language because that's as you do know, that's the original. And I went through and I I proved from the Hebrew text
Wow.
that the earthly paradise, what we call the earthly paradise, up until that time, all the great scholars of the world were trying to find out geographically where had been like created and what. Then I proved from the Hebrew text that there was no such thing as a geographical place, but was a preternatural place created by God only for dedication for our first parents.
Wow. But you had to first study and learn the Hebrew language.
That is correct. I always, this is really beautiful because I love the Hebrew language since, I was, I would say 18, and I started and I liked it. It's interesting how many people get so excited. But actually, if you really think straight, the dictionary of the Hebrew language is so limited. So it's not really that difficult to tell you the truth. I mean, the graphology might be different naturally, but the take for instance, when we talk about the first three chapters of Genesis, and that you have the creation.
Yes.
And in the text, you have that God created the world in 6 days. Yeah, but the word day in Hebrew, as you know, I'm sure that you know, it's yom. Yom means not only one day, but it means an indefinite period of time. So we can always, kind of, you see, I don't have to tell you these things because you already know this, but God wanted to be communicating with the people to whom he was addressing his message. And those people were shepherds, kind of nomads, they were not really, he could not give a treatise on astronomy, for instance, no, he had to be kind of understood by the people to whom communicating, as you know about communication so much, it means that we have to let the people understand what we're saying. Am I right?
Yes.
I had the privilege of being with a great communicator. I lived with him. His name was Bishop Fulton J. Scene. We had a small audience. Probably, I hope one day you will have it because we had an audience of only 40 million people, every week, so that was really an incredible thing. And he would always try to communicate. He always taught me how using big words, you are not communicating. You have to digest those words, you yourself, and then communicate it. That's what God did. I'm sorry, to digress.
No. And you mentioned Bishop Sheen. I actually brought you on to comment on one book, but I found out you wrote a book called Bishop Sheen, mentor and friend.
And friend. Yeah, that's right. That was something that I felt that I had to do. It was my duty, because I have lived with this exceptional man, especially during the Second Vatican Council. I was his, we call it peritus, an expert, on those the matters treated at the council, also the languages, because on the Second Vatican Council we had only one language, and that was the Latin language. So you had to know that language very well. There was no simultaneous translation in those days. So I had this privilege of being with him and being an expert also for the American bishops. It was really a tremendous experience because that was when the church, so to speak, I like to say the Christian world actually updated itself, that in a way, understanding what the modern world wanted us to do. So that was really a great experience. Great, wonderful. But I want to add, just to finish the responding to your question, that book was written almost basing the whole thing on the over 100 handwritten letters that he wrote to me until he died, because almost every month he would write me a letter, and then you could see actually important issues being contained in those letters. There was not really only, well, hello, how are you? Because I was at that time I was stationed in a place called the Vatican, where I spent 26 years of my life.
Wow. And reason why I mentioned Bishop Sheen, my father's a minister. He often talked about Bishop Sheen. I think at one point he had a radio program, then it transitioned to a television program. Is that correct?
Very, very true. That's interesting that you mentioned this. By the way, I would like to mention the fact that our audience was 40% Catholic, 30% Jewish, and 30% Protestant. I mean, that goes to show you. But before that, he had this radio program. When television came in existence, they thought that the man who had done such a splendid job on the radio, and especially after the time of immediately after the war, there was needed some kind of a special message, a positive message. And that's why the title of one of the shows is Life is Worth Living. Billy Graham, was a great admirer of Bishop Fulton J. Sheen, a friend, and so much so that he was present at the funeral of Bishop Fulton J. Sheen in December 1979 in St. Patrick's Cathedral, just to give you a glimpse of what happened then. Your father was right.
Yes. I totally agree. Brother, let's talk a little bit about your book here.
Yes.
Six Popes, a son of the church remembers. You just released this, is that correct? Hasn't been out that long, has it?
Yeah. Well, I had the privilege of serving these six popes, being with them, working with them, and I never wanted to write anything. My long life as a priest, and long life serving Christianity and humanity, I would say, because we should never forget that we have a common denominator called humanity. A few years ago, here at the United Nations, where I am right now, I was called to say a few words, at the gathering. Every year we have a week, for where all the religions of the world, represented at the United Nations are gathering the representatives. And I said, we have a common denominator called humanity. We should never forget that. That's what Bishop Sheen always insisted on. So I tried to convey. Frankly, I did not want to start writing this book until a friend of mine almost forced me to do it. So many people had asked me all through my life, you got to do it. You had such whatever. an interesting life. I said, well, I said, this is with me and the good Lord. Finally, my friend Chris Roddy insisted, and here I am, with 6
Yes.
popes. If you want to show it, it's a beautiful, cover. Am I right? Yeah.
But one thing I want to say, the 6 popes, but in reading some excerpts from the book here and there, what I found fascinating, not just your relationship with the 6 popes or working with the 6 popes, but other people.
That is correct. That is correct. Yes. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So, like, one that comes up, I know a lot of people will know about it, would be with two names I'm gonna bring up. The first one is Mother Teresa.
Right.
Could you say a few words there about your relationship with her, your work with her?
I'll be very thrilled. And let me just say, we did a lot of things, with Mother Teresa since the first time that we met, when she was not the famous Mother Teresa. She had just arrived in Rome and wanted to serve the baracati, they called actually the homeless people. And they were living in kind of, I don't know, on the outskirts of Rome. And she arrived with other 7 sisters. I remember that was the beginning of Mother Teresa, work in Europe. Let me put it that way. That was a long time ago. That was during the council, actually. And I remember that I was asked by a Monsignor friend of mine, that later on Cardinal, he asked me, I said, do you think that Bishop Sheen would want to see this nun that I met in India while I was stationed there? And I said, I'm sure, I'll ask the bishop. The bishop said, sure, let's go. And I remember, I had to drive to this place, in kind of deserted place, not deserted. Well, it was kind of the people who had no home had these kind of almost huts on the outside, on the outskirts of Rome. And that was the beginning. But then I have to share with you, and I'm happy to do so, in my office here, I have a few pictures, in my small office here, the Holy See Mission of the United Nations. And I have Mother Teresa in a wheelchair. The last visit of Mother Teresa to New York. And she's in a wheelchair and sickly. And there I am next to her. And she's telling me, said, well, you remember, when we went to Moscow to open the first house for the homeless? I said, do I remember? Because you gave me so many things to do. I said, yes. And then she said that we have 17 now homes between Moscow and St. Petersburg. However, that picture is very important because remember those cheap cameras with the date? Someone took this picture, I don't know who, but that date is so important. It was yesterday, actually, the anniversary was the 24th of June, 1997. And she's in a wheelchair and sickly. And she says to me, now they want me to go. And she mentioned other places that she wanted to go, China, whatever. And I want you to come with me. I said, Mother, you go home and rest. And sure enough, on the 5th of September, after 2 months, the good Lord called her. That's a great lesson for all of us. It's not a question of age. We have to try our best to do as much as we can. Whatever the Lord allows us to do, we should do it.
Amen. Have you ever, she won the Nobel Peace Prize. Have you ever met any other Nobel Peace Prize winners?
I have met other Nobel Peace Prize. Take, for instance, one of my greatest friends in Italy while I was in Rome was a Nobel Prize for Medicine. She was of the Jewish faith. Wonderful, unbelievable. Professor Rita Levi Montalcini, and she was a Nobel, a tremendous, wonderful woman. She was a great friend. One day she told me, she said, well, she lived to be well, a long life, let me put it that way. And
Mhm.
her mind was always so sharp until the end. And she said, Monsignor, remember when we used to say in Latin, mens sana in corpore sano, a healthy mind in a healthy body. Right now, she was already 91, 92. She said,
Wow.
now my legs are no good. But I say, mens sana in corpore infermo. She said, let's have, as long as I have a healthy mind with even with an infirm, I mean, sick body, she
Mhm.
said. She lived to be 103.
Wow. 100, that's amazing.
Rita Levi Montalcini, what a great, wonderful soul, and what a
Yes.
great mind, great intelligence, great
Mhm.
kind. Greatness comes with humility, and these two women that we just mentioned had the greatest gift that they could get from God, the talents, but they did not impose those talents on us.
Yes, yes. This is Book Talk with Corbin. I'm your host, and we have with us Monsignor Franco, the author of Six Popes, a son of the Church remembers. And folks, let me tell you something. This Monsignor, he can remember a lot. He can share a
Yes.
lot with us. It's absolutely, please, I highly recommend people, uh, to my listeners, that you get his book. Monsignor, where can we get your book? How can we buy it?
Well, I have to. I'm very excited. I'll tell you why. I did not expect. I guess popes. You see six popes, whatever. Certainly, it's not me. I'm whatever, nobody. But I was really surprised. It came out actually only on the 25th of May, and it's
Mm,
already number one. I mean, it was number one until I guess I don't know now, but it's number one on the Amazon list of new releases. It's incredible,
wow, wow.
how we are going to launch it also in Rome, near the Vatican.
Uh-huh.
On the 8th of July. So I'll be there, for all the meetings that I have. And so it's really beautiful. And I have already signed so many books. uh,
Yes.
we had a meeting. I had many like interviews on radio, television, Fox, and Newsmax television, and then many radio shows. And also I gave in person at 2.5 hours on Staten Island, just
Mhm.
last Tuesday. I mean, it's really, I don't know how to say. I thank God. I thank God.
Yes.
That's the most,
Yes.
the
So
Almighty, the Almighty.
so it sounds like Amazon.com. Folks,
Yes,
go to Amazon.com
yes.
and please
Or
get it.
you can write to the publisher, and I'm sure that they will. But Amazon has done a tremendous job, tremendous job.
Right.
Oh, they say also Barnes and Noble, but
Barnes and
some
Noble.
people say they could not find it because it had already been sold out, whatever,
Mm,
but definitely Amazon still, not still. I hope will continue to have it.
right. Right. Monsignor, I need to wrap up this interview, but before I do, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about someone who, is quite well known and rather controversial. You knew this person before he became president of the United States, and I'm referring to Donald J. Trump. And could you talk about us about your relationship with him before he became president of the United States?
Yes, that's the only time that I have met the president, and the reason was very simple because I was pastor up in Westchester, in a
Mhm.
place called Ossining, and so sometimes we would have some like gatherings at a place called the Trump National Golf Club, which was right there, for the parish,
Mhm.
fundraising, whatever. and, and and he would show up. But also, I have to tell you something else. One of our parishioners, my parishioners at that time, was actually his buddy, his great friend, uh, uh, playing golf. I guess he was a great pro, and and uh, and I do have to say that Donald Trump, not president, I haven't seen since he became president, whatever, but he was very when one of the four children of Lou Rinaldi, got very sick with a cancer they did not expect. He died at the age of 26, unfortunately, after battling cancer for 4 years. Well, I have to tell you that the man Donald Trump did a beautiful job. So much so that when I had blessed the wedding of Robert Rinaldi while he was sick with this wonderful young lady, and the Donald was there, and then also on the day of his funeral. He was there. So this is my Donald Trump. Kind of. I wish I could have talked to him. While he was president. Probably I could have blessed him in a very special way. But I have not been invited. To the White House. So whatever. But definitely, yes, I have seen and I have dealt with him.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that with us, and thank you for sharing, some of the other things as well with us. And again, I just want to conclude the interview by saying this to my listeners: go to Amazon.com, get the Monsignor's book, Six Popes, a Son of the Church Remembers. He can talk all day, folks. He has some fascinating stories and experiences. It's really something. It's just fantastic. And Monsignor, I want to thank you for taking the time out. I know you're a busy man, taking the time out, and spending time with me and spending time with my listeners. I know
it was a pleasure. It was truly a pleasure, and may God bless us all. Especially now after this pandemic.
Yes, sir. All right, but Monsignor, let's try to keep in touch. I know it's going to be hard, but let's try to keep in touch once in a while. Maybe we can have you come back sometime.
Okay. All right. We'll do so. God love you. As Bishop Sheen used to say at the end of this television, God love you.